Um, this is my 11th blog on my blog, my video blog, my political blog. And I want to do a kind of summary in a certain kind of way of the first 10 blogs, but I want to do this in a way by sort of burrowing into a film from last year called The Dark Knight, which in my view presents us with quite reasonable metaphorical look at a great deal of what goes on in the social present. Of course, the movie is interesting just as a movie. It's interesting for a particular performance that won an Oscar for an actor who committed himself to a role and to such a degree that it may have actually harmed him. That's sort of a whole other question. But what do I mean that The Dark Knight was a metaphor for the social present? Well, one of the things that The Dark Knight did was it talked about ideas. Now, not all films talk about ideas, but this film had ideas in the background to it, and its understanding, and its approach, and the way that the creators of it organized their thinking and represented the drama. And let me just highlight the ideas. You had a social situation and a great deal of crisis because of the acts of people who would not limit their appetites. And these were described in the movie as agents of chaos, and the Joker character was seen as the supreme archetype of an agent of chaos. He didn't even really have a political agenda. He didn't have something he wanted. He simply wanted to cause trouble. Now there was an agent of order, the Harvey Dent character, who fell prey to the not just the influence, but the terrible effects of the agent of chaos, the Joker, such that his life was ruined, and this affected him, and he became another agent of chaos. Then you had the particular individual, which is the title of the movie, The Dark Knight, the Batman. And Batman in this instance is neither an agent of order really or an agent of chaos. He's more like a vigilante. And as a vigilante, this is expressly discussed, there's a limit about what he can do. He can't really do what an agent of order would do, and he's not really quite an agent of chaos, although he can perhaps set a limit as a vigilante on the activity of agents of chaos. So this leaves us with, well, where was the agent of order? The political figure, Harvey Dent, was attacked by an agent of chaos and reduced to not just ineffectiveness, but to a degree to becoming a part of the chaos. And keep in mind, this is all related to what I talked about last time, which was the metamorphosis of civilizations and the fact that we are entering this time of social chaos. Now let's bring this forward a little bit more precisely and think a minute about what's happening in the United States of America. Of course, these kinds of things are happening everywhere. But in the United States of America, we have these excesses by agents of chaos in the financial world who still are not being stopped by the agents, what ought to be the agents of order, our government. And the effect of these people was to create chaos in our social life. A very severe crisis, which of course is what's part of the metaphorical structure of the movie The Dark Knight. Ordinary people are in horrible crisis as a result of these shenanigans. And today we have in the United States millions and millions of people losing their homes to foreclosure. And to the destruction of their previous existence, their way of life that they were settled into to a certain degree, through unemployment. And you have lots and lots and lots of people, ordinary people, suffering because of the destructive effects of agents of chaos inside and outside the government. Life is becoming hard. It's got to be seen as similar to and probably going to be worse than the Great Depression, even though that language is not being used by officials in the government for reasons which are understandable. They don't want to use it. They don't want to try to be doing things in the time of a Great Depression. I think future historians will call this time worse than the Great Depression, but that's neither here nor where. They're there. Now, one of the things I said in my thing about the metamorphosis of civilization was that you couldn't look to government anymore, and we can't, which is one of the metaphors of the movie The Dark Knight. We had to look in another place for that which is coming new to civilization. The old is dying away and the new is coming into existence, and, well, where is it coming from? Well, what happens in the movie The Dark Knight at the climax? A very interesting, dramatic situation is created by the agent of chaos, by the Joker, who participates in the movement out into the waters of life, 2 shiploads of people. And he gives to one shipload the power to blow up and destroy the other shipload, and says, well, what do you want to do? Ordinary people, you want to kill all the bad people, all the prisoners, all the murderers and corrupt people? And then he says to the murderers and corrupt people, well, you don't want to kill all the ordinary citizens and the law officers that are with them? They're all in the seas of chaos trying to survive, just like you are in the seas of chaos. And what does the film tell us? What's the story it tells us? It tells us that the real agents of social order are ordinary people facing horrible life decisions. And it isn't necessary that the one ship doesn't blow up the other ship or any of those kinds of things happen. It's that dramatic presentation of the crisis. The crisis that individuals are going to have to face. Life and death questions sometimes about which way they jump, what they do, why they do what they do. And that's the real depth metaphor of The Dark Knight. It shows us that government doesn't work, and that even the vigilante can't do much but sort of oppose agents of chaos and try to do things sort of on his own. But the real hard decisions are going to be made by ordinary people in ordinary life that are going to be riding these boats of social crisis, and they're going to have to make hard decisions. Now, personally, when I look at the character of the American people, and this, of course, is where I started off in the very beginning, in the first video, when I look at the character of the American people, I don't have any trouble conceiving of the American people collectively, certainly not in all individual cases, but collectively, finding a good thing to do, finding the right thing to do, finding a way to create social order amidst chaos, not from the top down, not in the old hierarchical situations, but from the bottom up in the immediacy of ordinary life.